Okay, if this is your first time taking any of our training, all our classes are typically recorded. We'll make this video available to you after the class. But for now, this is how we do it. We record all sessions and we make it available after class. This is the syllables that we're going to be covering. There are a few other things that we will be adding to the syllables, like Azure Synapses, that is not included here, but this is at least a breakdown of what you have for this. We're going to start up today with Azure Fundamentals, what cloud computing is all about. And then we're going to go on to getting started, getting your Azure account. And then we're going to move on to PaaS, Platform as a Service. We talk about elastic pools. We talk about networking. Network component is a very long topic here. Excuse me, guys. Hold on. All right. Network component is a long thing here. We talk about storage, virtual machines, and migration to Azure. We're going to talk about Azure Active Directory, managing permissions in Azure, rollback access control. And then we have a lot of other miscellaneous topics that we're going to talk about as well. And depending on how much time we also have. And then we have certification bootcamp for those who want to write a certification and interview training. And that should end up. So I'm going to do some modification on this, and I'll send this out to all of you so you have the syllables at your disposal. Okay, all right, good. Now let's get to work. Any question before we start? Do you have any question? All right, I know I answered most of your questions during your interview bootcamp, not interview bootcamp, during your class last Saturday. So let's see, Prince, can you hear me now?
Yes, Doc, I can hear you now very well.
Okay, yes, I tried to call your name. I think so you're trying to see connect. All right, guys, most of you already know Cyprian, but for those who don't know Cyprian, which is our program director, he's going to be rolling out most of the work that you will see here, all the programs, the projects, the announcements, the entire coordination. And also, you may also see him coming in also to handle some topics in this program. As well, we're also going to be bringing in some other instructors that will handle certain topics. But when it's time, we will introduce them to you and you will have a chance to get to know them. All right. Okay. So let's get started. If there's no question, we can start now. All right. This program it's 2 hours, goes by very fast. So we try to make sure that we make good use of our time when we're here. And the very beginning of this training, the first 2 modules of this training will prepare you to this certification, AZ900, Azure Fundamental. But do I actually recommend anybody that is taking this training to take this certification? No, I do not, right? This is, except your goal is just to have an introduction of what Azure is all about. But if you really plan to take this training till the end, this certification will not help you at all. It's just, to me, I feel it's a waste, especially for someone who will take this training, because you have a much better certification down the line that you will take. Now, what are the certifications that you will take when you're done with this training? We have AZ 104, right? AZ 104, that is Microsoft Azure Administrator certification. Okay, you can take this certification. That is the first certification that I expect you guys to take, right? Ignoring the AZ900. It's $165. You can literally just go here, schedule the exam. When it's time to write the certification, and either write it in one of the Pearson Center or actually do it online, right? It's very simple. Fill the form, click next, right? It's very simple to do that. It's not really complicated to do so. And then Microsoft sometimes offers a lot of discounts. Right now, I don't think there's any discount available, but they typically offer a lot of discount. There's no available discounts now. But for those of you who are students in schools in here or in any other country, you can find out if they have any student discounts and you can use, and you can schedule the exam. You can see, you can do that in one of the Pearson centers around. So if I just click on Pearson, it will take me to any Pearson center that I have, and I can do the test online at my home, or you can take it at a test center. Okay, so if I say I want to do it on at a test center, you need to bring your ID. You need to understand how to take the exam, and all your personal items, and then you can just go ahead, select what country, what language you want to take the exam on. I'm doing it in English. And what's next here? Provide additional information. Yes, yes. Next. All right, I give you exam policy, agree. And it checks the nearest Pearson center from your address. All right, so I have quite a lot of them around me here. So I can literally just select one here. Like this is the next Pearson center that I have around me. And I say just choose a date that I want to do that. And available time slot, book an appointment. Okay. And then you pay. When you book, you pay, and then you can go and write the exam. As simple as that. So it's not difficult. All right. Another exam that you have to take is AZ. I think it's AZ 304. I think it's usually 303 and 304. I think, but sometimes they replace it with AZ 305. Let me just make sure that this thing keeps changing every single day. It is actually Azure certified expert architect, solution architect. Okay, so now there used to be two exams. Microsoft combined it. Microsoft Azure Solution Architect Expert as the exam that this program also prepares you. That's the highest level of certification that you have for this program. And there you go. It's now replaced to 305. It used to be 304, 303. You need to write two exams to make one. But now Microsoft has changed it. And from October last year, it's not just one exam called AZ 305. But the condition is that you should have at least one certification, right? You should have passed at least the AZ 104. So you cannot write this certification if you don't have the AZ 104. There are so many other ones that you have to write. Two ways to prepare, right? You need to, you have to get the AZ 104 first, one certification. You have to get the, let me see, you should have passed the AZ 104 first before you can take this certification. Okay, so this, and then the good thing is that it's the same price now. So it's $165. And the same thing happens if you have a discount, you can apply that. So these are the two certifications that I will advise you to work on. But there's also this one. So if you want to know what certification Microsoft actually offers, you can literally just go here and go to Microsoft. Let me check. I think it's Microsoft certifications. Browse for certifications. Yes, here you can browse for certification, and then you choose, I want certification in Azure. And then you can see all the different certifications that do exist, right? But some of you here are coming from a different background. In Azure, you have quite a lot of stuff that you can do in Azure. This training will prepare you to be administrator, right? Solution architect, and data engineer. You could also do that. No data center, database administrator. Just selecting that, so you can see what certification you are able to take. All right, so with this, having selected this, you can there's DP300, right? So it's either you write, if you want, DP300 is really administering Microsoft Azure SQL solutions. So this is really focused on administering databases. For someone coming with a database background, yes, this could be a good one to take. But the AZ104 Azure Administrator spans across multiple things. It's not just few databases. You can do that on other stuff. So that how it is. So any other ones like this, it's not required. All these other ones now are really very much specific for someone if you're trying to get certified for Windows Server administration, or very specific things like Cosmos DB, prove that you have the certification on that, or SAP HANA, SAP HANA. There's also one there for SAP. I think I saw it somewhere, and so on, right? So that becomes very, very specific. But this training that we talk about here, you can do this. If you choose to do this, then you don't have to do this. These two will still give you the prerequisite to be able to write this other one, these 305. Okay, 305. Where is it? 305. All right. Okay. Any question as far as this certification are concerned? Any question, please? Any question? Do I have any question? No question?
Yes, Taiwo Tanisha.
Yes, Tayo, go ahead.
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you. How many times can someone do this certification? Is it only once you pay, that's it?
Or once you pay, you have one chance to write it. I don't know if you can retake with the same fee. That's something I have to find out though. If you have to retake, maybe you have to pay again. I don't know. I have to check that, right? But once you pay, you have the chance to take the certification. And it's $165. Paid directly to Microsoft, not to us. We are working on a certification partnership. There's some few hitches that we had to become CertiPort, where you could write the certification directly with us. But for now, Microsoft is the preferred partner, or PSMV, or any other testing center. If you are not in the US, in any other country, there are other centers that you can write the exam on. Yes, Ehi. Do I go with Ehi or Zazura? Which one?
Ehi.
Ehi?
Yes, Ehi's fine.
Ehi's.
Yeah, so
okay.
I have a follow-up question to Taiwo's question. So when we take the exam, is it renewed yearly, or is it one time like the AZ 900?
Good question. Every 2 years. Every 2 years it's renewed. You know why? Because technology changes too fast, right? So Microsoft wants to make sure that those who have the certifications are keeping up with the trend in technology. So it's renewed every 2 years. But the renewal process is not the same process like taking a brand new certification. Right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Any other questions as far as certifications are concerned? Now, let me ask the question: is our certification required for you to get a job? The answer is no. Right? It's no. So, but if you are working and you want to prove to your manager that you have been practicing, the right thing to you to get will be to show a certification. Right? That's the right way. But is it a requirement to have a job out there? No. All right. Okay. Any question? We're still on this certification thing. Yes, Edgar, go ahead.
Thank you, sir, for the opportunity. Beside being a SQL database administrator, with this AZ4 certification, can you get a job?
Oh, yes, of course. Of course. Why not? You really don't need the SQL database administration background. I mean, this is in as much as the program has everyone that teaches cloud, right? If you go to any program, you will see that there's some kind of, the program is more inclined towards the person's background. And me coming from a database background, you're going to see that it's actually inclined towards a data. But it doesn't mean that if you don't have a SQL background or database background, that with the easy 104 alone, you cannot. No, you should be able to get a lot of different jobs out there. I mean, what kind of jobs are you going to be applying for when you finish this training? Let me show you. Let me bring this syllabus one more time. When you're done with this training, what kind of jobs are you going to be applying for? Of course, you're going to be applying for jobs like all right, when you're done with this training, you'll be able to apply for Azure Solution Architect consultant jobs, Azure Administrator job, System Administrator, Azure Customer Engineer, right? Azure Services Sales Specialist, Support Technician, Cloud Engineer, Azure System Engineer, Azure Architect, AD Engineer, Azure Solution Architect, right? These are possible jobs that you can literally apply for. And if I was to just pick one of these and put it up there, and you see that, and then so say these jobs out there, okay? Just put it directly on Google and check. You have tons and tons and tons and tons of jobs. And these jobs are most of the time, they are online, they are remote, okay? Azure Administrator, Azure Admin, Windows Azure Admin, all this. So there's so many different things. If we were to open one of these job here and look at it here, having the certification or the relevant experience, candidate technical experience, competent in Azure, CLI and PowerShell, we're going to cover that in this program. Active Directory Admin, we'll cover that. Identity Access Management, we're going to cover that as well, and so on. So you see clearly most of the things that are being required when applying for a similar job like that are covered within our syllabus, right? So you can literally just go online and take a look at this. You see here, extensive knowledge in Azure Compute Storage, rollback access control concept with hands-on experience in creating, deploying virtual machines, virtual network, storage account, file share, routing. All this is covered within the syllabus. Knowledge of Azure concepts like Azure Active Directory, conditional access, web app, Azure storage, Azure container, all covered. See, experience dealing with infrastructure as a service, virtual machine resources, all this is covered within our syllabus. So these are jobs, and you can go on and on and on and on to look for other jobs with this, and you're going to see that these are all the things that we covered within the syllabus. Okay, good. Questions, please. I want to get all the questions that deal with this before we dive into this. All right. Okay, good. If there's no question, let's move on.
I have a question, sir.
Yes.
So I'm not here for the entire program. I'm just trying to get a basic knowledge that can help me as I'm interviewing for database administration. So I don't know how long this program is gonna take me.
I think you probably joined late. This program is going to take roughly 4 months. I mentioned at the beginning, that's how long this program takes, right? And I don't know what you mean by you're not here for the entire training. If you have not gotten a job and you're trying to get this to help you get a job, so that's fine. But when you get a job, what stops you from continuing with the training? Nothing, right? You just complete the training. Because whether you take this training now or not, one thing is sure, that you will take this training. So long as you staying in this database field, you will eventually take this training. All right, okay, good. Let's talk a little bit about class ethics, right? We all know the ethics. In this program, we expect your videos to be on. Should you not have your video on for whatever reason, you cannot ask a question. Okay? You cannot ask a question. If you have to ask a question, you need to turn on your video. I only answer questions to people that I see that they are really people. Make sure we're talking to people. That's one of the rules. Loud background noises, being late in class. Please, if there's anything that you should not do in this class, is not be late. Cloud computing is not like SQL Server training or any other training that you've taken where you can come in and out at any time. When we come here, we're going to deploy the resources that we're going to be using because we cannot deploy and keep them, okay? Because those resources cost money, we can't deploy them and keep it. So we have to delete it. So when you come late, when we've already deployed the resources, you are going to be running late and you're not going to catch up for the day because you don't know what we've already deployed, what is it used for, and all those things like that. So you have to be in class on time. No background noise, no eating in class. If you have to eat, please do the eating and then join the class later and mute yourself at all time. If you are not talking, just mute yourself, okay, to keep a clean class. Now, when we are doing the demonstration, the first demonstration that I am doing, please do not interrupt me nor any other instructor. When we demonstrate, we will pause the video and then we'll ask some of you to share your screen. At that time, you are able to interrupt. But the first demonstration from the instructor, you are not allowed to. And also, during the theoretical part, when I'm just explaining the theory, you will be given a chance to ask questions. And by the way, I'm actually going to mute you and unmute and turn off the unmute button so you cannot unmute yourself. And I'm going to do that right away. So unmute everybody and uncheck this so you cannot unmute yourself. Okay. So at this point, you can no longer unmute. I'll be able to have a very clean class without any disturbance. So this is very good for people who are watching this video. If you miss the class and you're watching the video, so people are not constantly interrupting and the video is difficult to watch. All right, so just follow the class ethics, please. This program will be done there's going to be group presentation as well. So everyone is encouraged to participate. Please, this is not just a class where you come in and give instructions you follow. We need real participation in class. I will appreciate the raise of a hand to have more coordination in class. If you can just raise your hand, if I ask a question, we're doing Q&A, or we're just doing regular discussion, just raise your hand. We'll give you a chance to talk, right? Talking over other people makes the class rowdy and it's not very coordinated. So if everybody can respect that, we will appreciate that. And you have to do your homework. We will validate that homework, okay? We're going to mark that homework. We're going to make sure that you are really doing it. And you have to participate in your group work. We're going to assign you to groups and make sure that everybody does their group work. All right. So everybody is encouraged to participate, follow the rules, do your practical work, and so on. This is a survey I carried out last batch and just shows how the students actually do rate the projects that we give out to them. See, everybody says the capstone project was very helpful. The project that we give out was very helpful to the understanding of the subject matter, and the assignment were very helpful. So this is a program that looks very simple to understand, but unless you do the practical work, you will not really grab the concept, okay? I did mention already the AZ900 is not required for any one of you. All right. Now let's talk about cloud computing, all right? When you hear the word cloud computing, what really comes in your mind? I mean, cloud computing, most of you probably would have been thinking that we're doing some computing in the cloud, if you're hearing this for the first time, or literally doing something linked with cloud, okay? But I am going to explain cloud computing to you just using two concepts, electricity and hotel, okay? For example, if I was to take electricity, when you move into a new house or you move into a rental apartment and you need light, right? All you need is light. You just need light. You just need to have light there, right? So when you turn on the switch, light should work. At this point, it's really not your business where the light is coming from. It's not your business what infrastructure the electricity company is putting up there to make sure the light reaches your apartment or your house. It's none of your business. It's none of your business if the city is growing and they're running out of a supply or have to rationalize electricity. All you need is light, right? So because you really don't care where the electricity is coming from, what are some of the things that need to be done in the background to make sure the electricity works, right? You just want to pay for the electricity and use it. If you don't pay, you don't use it. Sorry, if you don't use it, you don't pay, right? At this point, electricity becomes more like a utility for you. And that's why we call it a utility, right? Like electricity bill is a utility bill, meaning I only pay for what I use. So it's none of my business where it's coming from, what challenges they're facing. I just want to pay for the amount of electricity that I use. If they cannot supply, I don't pay anything. All right, take example number 2, a hotel. When you book a room at a hotel, do you care where the bed sheets are coming from? Who washes them? Who cleans the room? Do you care how they pay their bills? How they pay their workers? Whatever they do to make sure the place is up and running? That's none of their business. All you need to do is, I need a room, I'm going to pay for one night, and that's the price. So living at a hotel becomes more of a utility to you, right? You do a pay as you go service. If I spend one night, I pay for one night. If I spend 2 nights, I pay for those 2 nights, right? So that's it. All right. Now let's take this concept now and apply it in technology. Because a traditional way of having it is having a data center. If you can think about any other data center around you, you will see that in the data center, you have everything up and running. First of all, if you need to build a data center, you first of all need to buy the land, right? You need to get all the legal documents that it takes to put on the data center, and you need to buy all the hardware, the servers, the machines, everything that you need to have a data center up and running. And then after you've done all that, you need to sign up the deals for electricity supply. You get all the technicians that were working there, and then you need to pay the people for their technical know-how. All this embodies a lot of cost. All right. But what if I had a technology where I literally just pay for the same services and have everything I need, but without necessarily buying everything I need to put on the data center? And that's cloud computing to you. Right? So as a technology professional, it would be nice to have all these benefits when you're developing your application. Be in a position where I just pay to use the servers. Okay. Now let's take, for example, if I was trying to test a concept, and that concept involved using a server that has 122 core, 500 gigabyte of RAM, and 2 terabyte of storage and all that. That is huge infrastructure or hardware that I need to secure. But what if I'm doing it for a resource, for a project that I don't even know if it's going to work? So I'm going to put up all this money. Meanwhile, I'm not even sure that the idea will work. But what if I had a way where somebody will provide the same resources for me just for a given amount of time for me to test my concept? I have a friend that said, okay, you know what? Rather than spending all these hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy all this hardware and set it up, I am going to provision that hardware for you for 2 hours. And you're going to test your idea. If it's good, you can extend it for 1 hour. If you like it, you can pay monthly. That is cloud computing for you. right? Cloud computing simply involves using resources provided by a third party, right? And using resources that are being provided by a third party. And those third party resource providers are called cloud providers. And we're going to see that soon, right? For example, storing data, streaming a video online. Right now, you guys are using Zoom, right? You are using Zoom. Zoom is a cloud provider. It's a software as a service. You pay per month to use the Zoom. Zoom is a very good example. I mean, there will never be a day that you're going to be worried about upgrading the Zoom or writing some new codes to make Zoom work well, writing some code to modify the application and make it user-friendly and so on. There will never be a day. All you need to do is, I'm paying up for Zoom, I've subscribed for Zoom, I need to use it. And whenever I need it, it should be up and running. Now, Zoom becomes now my software as a service provider because it's providing you a service and you're going to use that service to do your work, right? Most of you here have accounts with Google Drive, OneDrive, Cloud Drive, OneNote, OneDrive. All these are cloud-based storage services that are provided for you by all these different providers, right? So it helps quite a lot when you are actually dealing with developing new technologies and trying to use the existing technology that exists out there, right? So that's what cloud computing really comes in to solve for you, right? So it's basically renting resources. You're barely renting resources. It is not like you are really doing any kind of computation in the cloud. No. The simple truth is that the resources that you rent sit on someone's data center, right? So you pay for what you use, right? The company that provides those resources to you is called your cloud provider. So you can sign up either for Microsoft, Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud, you have IBM Cloud, Alibaba Cloud, Oracle Cloud. There are just way so many cloud providers out there. Now, having known all these different cloud providers work on the same concept, right? They provide you resources, you use the resources, and they keep the resources up to date. You pay as you go to use the resources. And these resources will typically be as compute resources, it will be storage resources, network resources, analytics, and so on, right? Now, why do we choose Azure? So, for example, someone would ask you, why are you choosing Azure? Well, Azure is actually not the top cloud provider out there, but the number second. Number two, AWS comes first because they started this business a long time ago, but Azure is coming up very powerful. And the reason why I will choose Azure over AWS anytime is because a lot of companies out there uses Microsoft product already, right? And because they're using Microsoft product, Microsoft already gives out a lot of discounts. So there's a lot of price savings that you are going to benefit from using a Microsoft product. Okay, so because Microsoft provides you all those different benefits, it makes it easier for companies to integrate Azure as their cloud provider. So for that reason, you're going to see that there are going to be a lot of jobs out there with little expectation as far as cloud computing is concerned compared to AWS. Okay, so a lot of companies that hire these cloud providers in the AWS field require a much higher expectation when you look at the job description compared to Microsoft Azure, where the expectation is lower. And also because this is a product that is highly available and a lot of companies easily embrace that. For most companies, when they are planning to migrate to the cloud, the first thing they want to think of is Azure, especially if they're already using Azure products, right? Licenses, because Microsoft gives you a lot. I'm going to explain that as we move on here. All right. So the goal of cloud computing is really to make the use of business easier. All right. Makes it easier and also make it more efficient. All right. So, and they offer a wide variety of services, like we're going to talk about it. The first one we're going to talk about is the compute services. Compute. When we talk about compute, what really comes in mind to you? Compute. All right. Well, let's just take a typical example. When you book a flight online, when you open an email, you save documents online, you do any kind of computation online, there's a particular resource that is being used for that. All right. Sending an email online, there's a compute power that's allocated for you to be able to send that email on, if you're using Google, Yahoo, whatever. There's a certain amount of resources that's allocated for you to be able to send that email. So Microsoft will charge you for the computational time that you use. So cloud providers gives you compute power, the ability to be able to do computation on their data centers. All right. Now, the advantage here is that there's a flexibility based on the work that you are doing. All right. Today, I want to send 100 emails. Tomorrow, I might not have any email. So if I'm sending 100 emails, I'm paying for the 100 emails that I'm sending. If tomorrow I don't have any email, I don't pay for anything. All right. So you can actually control your resource utilization, the compute power utilization that you have, that you need. For example, also, let's talk about something like a virtual machine. All right. When you're running a virtual machine in Microsoft Azure, Microsoft charges you what is called compute power. What that means is that the simple fact that the virtual machine is up and running, there is a certain amount of RAM, a certain amount of CPU that is allocated to that virtual machine to be running. And no, that compute power cannot be deallocated and given to someone else so long as your virtual machine is still up and running. So they're going to charge you for that. All right. But when you stop the virtual machine and the virtual machine is not running, practically Microsoft doesn't charge you for that, because the CPU, the RAM that was used by your virtual machine can now be allocated to a different user. And that's why most of these cloud providers are called multi-tenant cloud provider. Multi-tenant simply meaning that these are providers that are open to multiple users. It's not dedicated for one single company. So I could have Bank of America, Chase Bank, Wells Fargo, all these different banks running their resources on the same cloud provider, but each one of them completely isolated from one another. And there is no interaction among each of them. So for all the resources that you have, as far as the computational speed is concerned, they are only going to charge you for the computational power based on the time that the virtual machine is up and running. If the virtual machine is not running, you are not charged for that. But there are certain resources that we're going to talk about, for example, like a storage. Storage, Microsoft will still charge you for storage, even when the virtual machine is not running. Reason being that a storage is attached to a virtual machine. So if I save documents on my virtual machine and I shut down the virtual machine, the only thing that is happening is that CPU memory is not being used, but the storage space that those documents is occupying will still occupy it even if the virtual machine is not running. And I cannot take that storage and give it to another client. And for that reason, I will still have to be paid, to be charged for that storage. So there are certain resources that even when the virtual machine is not running, you will still pay for it. All right. So, and then as we move more and more into this field, you're going to hear of things like containers, serverless computing, and so on. Well, containers actually provide also some layer of execution for you to be able to run your codes, right? The only difference between containers, serverless computing, and virtual machine is at this level. If I put this picture here, you see that. Right? A virtual machine on itself, the reason why Microsoft will charge you for virtual machine is that a virtual machine runs on the physical hardware. For example, I can take your laptop right now and create multiple VMs on that laptop. And on top of that virtual machine, on top of that physical machine, I will create what's called a host operating system and a virtualizing layer to be able to create different virtual machines that will sit on that host. Okay. Now, because these virtual machines are independently sit on the host, each one of them will have the independent hardware, memory, RAM, which is completely independent from each other. Okay. Now, I can now run an app on this virtual machine and also another app on this virtual machine without any interaction. But then you move on to what is called containers. Well, on containers, what you have is that you have the host itself, the main host, which has all the specification, but the host has what is called a container engine. Okay, a container engine which does not have a virtualizing layer, so there's no virtualization. So each one of these containers can run an independent app, right? But tapping its resources directly from the physical host. Here, the host must have enough resources to give out to each one of these virtual machines. Meanwhile, here, all these virtual machines can tap from the main host resources. Here, there's a much better utilization of available resources than in the situation of virtual machine. Okay. Now, on serverless computing, it's even a much better utilization of resources because you don't even have any runtime, any apps that is independent running. They are just functions. And here is with things like called Azure functions, where the functions are sitting directly on the physical host and only executing when a certain action happens or certain trigger happens. For example, every single time I send out a text message, that was the only time I pay. If no text message gets sent out to a client, I don't pay for that. So a function gets executed every single time someone deposits money into my account, a message, a trigger triggers a text message, and that text message needs some resources to send the message to the client, and that is the time you pay for. So these are just better ways of utilizing the underlying infrastructure that you have. Either you're talking about containers, virtual machine, or serverless computing. We're going to look into all this as we move into this training. All right. Now, the next thing we'll have to talk about is storage virtualization, right? We'll talk about the fact that in computing, you pay for compute power as well as for storage, right? When it comes to storage, there are so many different types of storage that you know already. You already know the regular ones, traditional ones that you already know: OneDrive, Google Drive, OneNote, what is it called? Dropbox. There's so many different storage, virtual storage that you already are using right now, right? So even the simple fact that you need storage to be able to even just save your messages online, right? Send out an email and keep a trace of that. All that uses virtualized storage provided by this cloud provider, right? So the advantage of using cloud-based storage is just simply because you can scale up and scale down at will. You can easily scale, easily. Now, Microsoft also offers, when it comes to storage, so many different varieties. You're going to talk about blob storage. We're going to talk about Azure Data Lakes. We're going to talk about things like queue storage, table storage, and all the, when we talk about the topic of storage, we're going to see all the different types of storage that exist out there, or just regular virtual disks that you have managed and unmanaged disks. All these are storage, and you pay for this. These are services that you still have to pay, even if the machine is not overrun. The moment you deploy these resources, you will have to pay for it. All right. So, in summary, every business need is different. All right. So every business need is different. So, but cloud computing in general is just another way to help businesses run their businesses in a cost-efficient manner, and also make it more flexible for business to be able to start up and scale their businesses. So very brief introduction. I will stop here and give you a chance to ask a question if you have any before we move on to the next part. Any question? Yes, Tayo.
Concerning the sorting down of the cloud when we're in the class. So in case of if you want to practice, how are we gonna go about that?
What you have to do is that every time we get a result of the program at the end of the class, we are going to delete that result. Delete our result, and then we're going to make sure that you are not charged for it. You know how the result.
Doc, I think
Okay,
you're having some
volume is
issues.
funny.
We can't hear you.
Go ahead and redeploy the result. That's all. During a practice time, the virtual machine to do some practice.
Doc, your volume is funny.
Doc, you have some issues. You have some issues with your mic. The audio.
The whole time.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's not
we didn't hear nothing.
very clear.
Give me a moment.
Struggling to fix that. In the meantime, Taiwo, your question. We're still at the introduction, and of course, we're going to be showing you all how to set up your Azure account and subscription. So you have all the time to practice, and we're actually going to show you how to go about it. Doc, are you?
Is it much better now?
Yes, it is.
Okay. For some reason, there was some interference with another mic that was connected, so that's why I was doing that. All right. Okay. So you should guys have told me that earlier. No, I didn't know that the sound was that poor. Okay, I was answering questions. Was that any question?
Yeah, we did not hear your answer.
Sorry?
Tayo, ask your question again.
Tayo, can you please ask your question, please?
The question is, in the class, when we practice, we take it down. When we practice, take it down. How are we going to be practicing on our own after we finish the class?
Okay, very, very correct. Okay, so the reason why we ask you to delete your resources is just to save costs, right? So everything that we do here in class, at the end of the class, we'll ask you to delete your resources just to save costs. But it doesn't mean that you cannot go ahead and redeploy the same resources if you are doing practice on your own. So when it's time to practice, just redeploy the same resources and practice. And when you're done practicing, just go ahead and delete it. Guys, this program can cost you a lot if you don't pay attention to costs, okay? Cloud computing is very good, but it can also be very costly. So we strongly recommend to always delete your resources when you are done when you're done practicing. All right?
Thank you, sir.
Okay, good.
I have a question. Sorry.
Yes, please go ahead.
On average, how much do you think, I know there's a kind of like pricing system for Azure, but for average, like what do you think would be the best solution for cost, recommended for this class?
So on average, first of all, when you guys, if you never open an account in Azure, you do have a $200 discount. All right, not $200, $200 trial credit that is given to you. If you've already exhausted that credit anyway, you just have to go with pay as you go. But on average, students at the beginning, is it breaking?
No, we can hear you.
Okay, someone write in the chat, my network is breaking. Okay, so on average, students at the beginning of this training will not even use up the $200 until it expires, right? but then you can put your bill between $50 and $100. And it really depends on how curious you are in how often you go to practice, so on. But then towards the end of the training, when it's really going so in depth into projects, your bill can easily go up to $100 and $150 per month. Okay,
Yeah,
but if you practice the concept of deleting your resources when you're done practicing and redeploying them, your bill shouldn't really be high. I'm the instructor, I do more, and I've never gone above $200. There were times that when I started this and I really didn't master the art of deleting resources, that I went over $500 one at a certain point. But you will see that a lot. I'll always remind you guys when we're done with the training to delete your resources. I'll send a reminder all the time. I always do that to make sure that you don't forget to delete your resources.
And just to add to that, we also have the Azure course alert, which is something that we can also, we're going to show you how you can use that to set a certain threshold so that you can spend above a certain limit. When it gets into that limit, you're going to be informed so that you can make informed decisions as well. So just to add to what Dr. was saying about it.
Very correct. Right. So when we start this training, we are going to set up the cost threshold monitor to make sure that all of you are aware of the cost that is involved. And it will send you a notification once you hit that threshold, and you'll be able to either, if you're forgotten, you're able to get in and delete the resources. Yeah. All right. Okay. Yes, Edgar, last question, and we can move on.
Oh yeah, last question. I wanted to say, after we practice in class, you say we delete. Is Azure same system like what we were doing on virtual machine, that even if I shut my machine, when I open my machine the following day, I'll be on the same page, or I have to restart again?
No, deleting really means you are deleting a resource. It's not going to be there. All right. So if the project today involve dealing with maybe a load balancers or traffic managers, right? And you deploy your traffic manager, you set up all the traffic routing from one point to another, and then at the end of the class, you delete the resources, you've deleted them, they're gone. Then the next class, that's why I said lateness is not accepted in this training, because by the next class, probably we did not finish the project. We're going to continue from where we ended the previous class. So the first 10 minutes before class is to make sure everybody has the resources deployed. If you join the class 15 minutes when the class has already started, everybody is already doing something, you'll be completely lost because you don't even know what are we doing. So please make sure that you join the class on time.
Thank you.
Right? Okay. Very good. Let's move on. And for some reason, this thing just decided to freeze. Give me a moment, guys. My PowerPoint decided to freeze. Give me a moment. Moment. My PowerPoint is frozen, guys. Give me a moment. Why is it doing this? Close. All right, let me open it one more time. All right. Okay. Share screen. And share. All right. Okay. So I know today's class can be really boring because all this theory that we're talking about like this, but we still need to know all this theory, right? What are some of the benefits of cloud computing? How is it beneficial to you? Of course, it's cost effective, right? In cloud computing, you don't need for testing your resources, for testing maybe an idea. You woke up, you have a brand new idea. It is cost effective because you don't need any upfront cost. I don't need money to buy new servers. I just go in, create an account, test the idea, and if it doesn't work, I delete the resources, and I only pay for the time that I use the idea. All right. So you can also scale up, right? The fact that it's highly scalable, it means that if I start off with maybe a 4 gigs RAM and a 1-core CPU, and I see that the idea is actually working, I just do a scaling, right? And when we're talking about scaling, in Azure, we have 2 types of scaling. We have vertical scaling and horizontal scaling. Now, vertical scaling is in a situation where you are actually scaling from one point to another. For example, if I'm dealing with 1-core CPU, right, and I find that the idea is good, and I move it up to 2-core CPU, then this is a vertical scaling. But you also have what is called horizontal scaling. In horizontal scaling, if I have 1-core CPU and I find that the idea is good, I can literally add another 1-core CPU machine or another 1-core CPU machine. Now you've actually scaled, but you scale horizontally, right? You just have multiple versions of the same resources that have been deployed, and it helps to scale the workload and still work at the same rate. So the fact that in cloud computing, you're able to do this very easily makes it very, very attractive, and why companies choose it. All right. It's also very elastic. I can scale up and scale down at a very short time possible. For example, if I have deployed my web app, and my web app is servicing web traffic for a website that sells electronics, and during Black Friday sales, I have, for example, my sales are like this, and this sales is okay for a machine that uses about 4 GB of RAM, maybe 2-core machine. And during Black Friday sale, I suddenly have this jump. And this stays here maybe just for a certain amount of time, maybe 4 days or 1 week, depending on how long the Black Friday sales go, and then drops down. It will be very, very unrealistic that I purchase a machine, for example here, let's say an 8 GB machine and maybe a 4-core machine, just to be able to service this time frame that sales are going high. Okay, in on-prem, that's the only way you can do this. You must buy a machine that does it. Now, when business drops down to the regular operating procedure, what are you going to do with this machine? You're going to be underutilizing the resources that you have. Now, with cloud computing, it is very elastic, which just simply means that when business goes up, you scale up, and when business goes down, it scales down. Simple. And you only pay for what you need, right? As simple as that. Okay. Next point, why it's very beneficial, is current. Current, meaning that you are always going to be working with the latest versions of the software that you're dealing with, right? You are not going to be worried about if the software is outdated. Do I need to apply updates? Am I running the latest storage? Am I dealing with the latest VMs? Am I dealing with the latest version of this product? You're always going to have the latest, right? And that workload, you send it back to the cloud provider to take care of it. This is none of their business. You don't worry about that, right? So it's always going to be current. All right, let's move on. And it is reliable, right? It's reliable, very reliable. Now, most of these cloud providers go through a series of policies, and they go through a tremendous amount of certifications to be up and running. I mean, if you can think about the fact that US government runs their most secret databases in Microsoft Azure. You know, in the US, Azure has 2 types of Azure, right? There's Azure government and regular Azure. Now, the US the Department of Defense runs the databases in Microsoft Azure. So, I mean, you can think about the fact that U.S. Department of Defense dealing with nuclear codes, all this very highly classified information that is saved on a cloud provider. You need to imagine the kind of certifications and policies that they have to go through to be able to do that workload. So you can rely on that, right? And of course, it gives you what is called fault tolerance, right? It has fault tolerance, meaning fault tolerance just simply means that cloud providers are always going to have at least 2 different versions of whatever is running on. If it's storage, you have at least 2 storage. So there's some kind of redundancy built in, right? Redundancy is often built into cloud provider. For example, when something fails, there's at least plan B, plan C, plan D. There's at least 2, 3 different things. For example, if we are dealing with storage, for everything that you save in Microsoft Azure storage account, you have 99.999 all the way to 16 of these 9% uptime. This simply means that the only time that the resource will not be available is just translated to about 3.5 seconds in a year, per year. All right? In an entire year, the resource can only go down for that amount of time. All right? That just tells you how highly reliable these resources are. And the scores is global. You can reach Microsoft Azure resources anywhere around the world. And with this, I want to show you the Microsoft Global Infrastructure Reach for you to see how highly available these resources are around the world. For example, if you go online and you just type infrastructure map.microsoft.com, infrastructure map.microsoft.com, and you open that, you're going to see a lot of Microsoft data centers that are around the world. Okay, these are all the data centers. You can read a little bit more about this to understand the security on their data centers and where they are located. But this infrastructure map here, if I launch it here, the global infrastructure, you see the global infrastructure map of Microsoft Azure. Okay, this is when it loads. Now you're dealing with a cloud provider that is almost located in any parts of the world. Microsoft has 53 data centers around the world with a lot of POP, point of presence, around the globe. Okay, why is it taking so long to load though? Taking so long. Loading. Tempted to refresh it, but let me refresh it and see. This thing normally just work. Okay, there you go. Right. So you can see how highly connected the entire world is with Microsoft data centers, right? Azure data center. Now you can take a look around it and spin the world map and see. You see all these different dots here. These ones here, these are the US availability zone. We're going to talk about what availability zones are for you in time to come, right? So you have here availability zone, you have Microsoft regions, and you also have what is called point of presence. Right? If I zoom in a little bit, zoom too much, zoom out. All right, so you can clearly see here, here in North America, you see a lot of areas. These other dots that are gray in color, these are POPs, right? Point of presence, right? Points of presence. And all these different lines are high network fiber optic cables that connect different regions, right? Which has a high throughput that can even go up to 10 gigabyte per second of data transfer. All these different points here, you can take your time and look through it when you have a moment. And these are the Azure data regions, as well as different points of presence around the world, POP. When you hear of network POP, these are just different regions where the data, the network is intensified, and you can actually connect to your resource there. Now, if you have a Microsoft, if you want to sign up to Microsoft, you typically want to find the nearest point of presence to your location, right? And that is where you're going to connect. For example, here, this is not really zooming well for me today. I don't know why. But if I was to zoom in a little bit like this, and I'm in Dallas, Houston, Dallas, you can see that if I want to connect to Microsoft, do what is called a site-to-site connection from my home to Microsoft network, I just need to find myself in any of these Microsoft networks. Once I am in any of these Microsoft networks, they are connected around the world with high-speed fiber optic cable connections, right? All I need to do is to look for the closest region, point of presence, either a region or a POP region that is closest to my address, and then link it up there, and I will use it there to connect to Microsoft Cloud, right? So this is how highly available Microsoft infrastructure are around the world. And you can actually use these resources like this to connect your resources to that, right? So you can take time, play with this a little bit, understand how this is, and go into each data center and see what it is, what is set up, how the network is configured, what are the power stations, where they get the energy from, and have a better understanding about it. All right, let's move on. All right, so I mentioned the fact that it's highly global, and it is very secure, right? If we think about the fact that Microsoft hosts US government most critical databases, that just tells you how secure it is. They have physical security, like even just how to access the building, there's already security. Now, Microsoft invests billions every year just in security. There's a very strict procedure that is put in place for all employees that work around Microsoft data centers. And there's a certain area where there's very few users have access to. And getting all the way into the data center, you have physical presence, like the badge scanning, you have fingerprint, the iris scan, and so on, all those different security, just to make sure that only authorized users find themselves right inside one of the Azure data centers, right? So, all right. Now, Microsoft offers very resources at a very affordable price. And you may be asking yourself, how is that possible? Now, the reason why they're able to offer you these resources is just the concept of economies of scale. That's it, economies of scale. So economies of scale is the ability to do things more efficiently at a lower cost per unit when operating at a large scale. Just because Microsoft operates at a very large scale, they're able to negotiate for a lower cost per kilowatt for electricity costs. They're able to negotiate with the government to get cheaper taxes. They're able to negotiate with the chip companies to get servers at affordable prices and all that, just because they do it at high scale. Now, you as an individual, you don't have the same economic of scale because you're operating at a lower scale. So you're not able to have the same cost savings. So Microsoft, all these cloud providers are able to operate at a higher scale, get these deals with local government, utility companies, tax savings, and then pass it down to you as consumers. and you're able to get it cheaper. That is why you're able to have that. Now, talking about cloud computing, we must talk about these two major things: capital expenditure and operational expenditure, CapEx and OpEx. Guys, take note of these two terms. You're going to hear this all the time, CapEx and OpEx. Now, traditional way of running business, not cloud-based business, is to, first of all, set up the infrastructure, right? Get everything off. All those things, that is money upfront that you have to put in. We call it capital. I'm investing on the capital of the business. But there's no guarantee that this money will yield any fruit to you. There's no guarantee that eventually the business is going to grow. This business is going to flourish. So all the amount that you spend upfront before you actually run the business is called capital expenditure, or CapEx. Right? Now, when business is up and running, what you spend is operation. You have to spend money to pay the taxes, pay the workers, pay bills, and so on. That is the operational cost, the so-called OpEx. Now, with cloud computing, what you are actually doing is that you are eliminating this CapEx, and you're only dealing with OpEx. Well, CapEx is typically the most expensive expenditure that you're going to deal with, because you are spending money on something that you don't even know if it's going to work or not. All right? Okay. Now, what are some of where does the CapEx cost come from? Well, it comes from things like the server cost. You have to buy the servers, right? The storage, you need to buy all the storage that is required for that work. You need to go buy the network component, the backup component, and you also need to set up for organizational disaster recovery. All that are CapEx. You also have to pay the personnel, buy data center infrastructure, maybe get the land, get everything set up, and all that. All that goes into your CapEx. Meanwhile, operational expenditure is just you're leasing the servers, right? The softwares that you use. You do pay as you go. For example, in Azure, you guys are going to have the pay as you go model, meaning I'm only paying for what I use. If I don't use it, I don't pay for it. So all that goes into operational expenditure that you pay. And also the cost in scaling the business, right? And maybe running higher CPU, higher RAM. If workload increases, traffic increases, I scale up or I scale down. All that goes into my operational expenditure cost. All right. And billing, right? Microsoft bills what is called a subscription-based billing, right? Subscription-based billing, meaning that when you sign up for Microsoft Azure account, you get what is called a subscription. A subscription. Now, a subscription is what Microsoft used to send you a bill. Now, the organization a bill for the services that they use, for the resources that they use, and that money is billed per each subscription that signs up for an account in Azure. All right. Now, what are some of the benefits of actually this CapEx versus the operational expenditure? Is this. Look at this graph, for example. Traditional way of running business is that, first of all, I started with my business with a certain cost, let's say $1 million, right? And I run it for a certain amount of time. And then business grows. And what happened is that I increase the costs maybe to 2 million and then run it for a certain amount of time. Business grows, I move it to 3 million, 4 million, and so on, right? Now, this is the CapEx expenditure that is involved in the business. But then, in reality, this is how the business will really grow, right? There will come a time when the business is very high, sometime when the business is low, sometimes it's high, it's low, it's high, it's low, and so on. No business grows straight up like that. It always have ups and down moments. Now, when it's up here, well, it's still within the amount that I had estimated. But what happens when the business is down here, right? This difference is what I'm paying for when I'm not using it. Right? This is something that I'm paying for and I'm not using because I estimated $2 million and I'm almost at zero. So I'm paying for this. Now, at the next time now, when business go back up, well, it's somewhere around the estimate. When it drops again, I am paying for this when I'm not using it. Okay. Now, there may also come a time when business grow beyond the estimate. Right? For instance, here, I estimated the business is going to be here, but in real sense, I need this to be able to run. What happens when demand exceeds the estimate? What's going to happen here for performance of business, right? Customers will start complaining. You are not able to meet the demands of customers, right? You may lose customers. You may lose reputation. Your competitors might take your customers. They will weigh in on a competitive advantage and takes that. This is how traditional businesses work. But then, if you compare it with the operational way of running business, which is based on the cloud model, is that we run as far as the business, we grow with the business. We don't have any estimate. If the business is going up, we also scale up. If it scales down, we scale down. Scale up, we scale up, right? So there will never be a time where demand exceeds the infrastructure, right? And there will never be a time that you are paying for more than what you actually have available. And this is where cloud computing really takes advantage of, because it auto scales based on demand. All right. Okay. So at this point here, I'm going to take the remaining time and help you guys with your Azure account, creating your Azure account, and then we're going to work on this next week. No, this week actually. This week, yes, Saturday. All right. Now, I want all of us to take a break from all this theory and do something practical. I want all of us to create our Azure account. And there are two ways we have to do that. You can use your Google, the Gmail, or if you have an Outlook, it's either you have an Outlook, let me tell you what Microsoft accounts are. You have Outlook, is Microsoft account. You have Yahoo, is also Microsoft. Live is also Microsoft, right? Hotmail, if you're still using Hotmail, it's also Microsoft. So we can use any of this to create our account with it. If you don't have any, you can create one. If you don't want it, you can still use your Gmail to create your account. All right, because I already have an account, I'm going to ask one of you to share your screen, and we're going to walk you through how to create the account. Everybody, you need your credit card for this to be able to activate that. You are not being charged for that at this moment, but you need that in order to create the account. Now, before you do that, I just want to let you understand that this is what I wanted to show you. I want to show you, if you go on portal.azure.com, it logs me in automatically because I already have an account. But if you just go here and say Microsoft Azure, all right. So Microsoft Azure is here, and Microsoft Azure gives you a free account as well. Now, what is actually comes with a free account? You start out with a free account, and after that, you have to upgrade to a pay-as-you-go model, right? Now, on the free account, you have popular services that are free for 12 months. I never really get to use these. You have a startup credit of $200 that Microsoft offers you for those, and this is $200, and you have to use it within 30 days. Okay, you must use it within 30 days. So it's either a 30 days elapses or you use up to $200. So today is May 11th. So by June 11th, this $200 would have already expired. And you will have to either use the pay-as-you-go model, or you can no longer use the services or deploy resources that require payment. So if you already used up your pay-as-you-go, a free account, you will only go with the pay-as-you-go. What are some of the things that comes with it? Well, you can have a virtual machine with a 750 hours and a B1 size of virtual machine. You can run an Azure SQL database of S0 instant level up to 10 database transaction unit, so DTUs, Azure Blob Storage, Cosmos DB, Azure App Services, Azure Function, Azure Grid. These are some of the free resources that come with this. For this, by the time the account is expiring, we will have been able to use it for this and this, most probably, right? These are resources. And if we go higher, because we have more hours this time around, you have the option but to upgrade. Okay, so when you come here, all you need to do is click on Start Free. So let me have someone share their screen that doesn't have any Azure account. And Ehi, do you want to share your screen? Please. Or do you have the Azure account already?
Yeah, I have an account.
You have an account already. Okay. So let me have someone else share their screen. Someone that does not have any account.
Let me share.
All right. Deny recording. It has been recorded. Why are you requesting for recording? Tayo. Okay. Oh, hold on here. Exit full mode. Okay. All right. Just type there Microsoft Azure. All right. Okay. All right. And scroll down a little bit. And that's a link here, Microsoft Azure here.
Yeah.
Here. Here. This one. Okay. All right. So we're going to try Azure for free. Click on that. Okay, start free. All right. So you have to enter your Microsoft account here. If you don't have one, you can create one as well. Or you can also enter a Gmail. All right. Next.
Okay.
All right. You have to fill in this information: your first name, your last name, your email, your phone number. Guys, this information has to be legal though, right? Because this is linked to your bank account, right? So you want to put the real information, or except you're using for your spouse. Some of you have already used up. If you've already used up your $200, you can still use that of your spouse, right, or friend. That should also work.
Do I need to click this one to for them to share my information? I don't think so.
Agree? Yes, you have agree. I like Microsoft to share. No, you don't have to allow Microsoft to share your information. And then sign up.
Grayed out.
I
Did
think
I do
you're missing
something?
something. You did not enter a country code. +1. +1.
My +1 is not working.
Oh, it said please do not. Sorry, it said please do not enter a country code. But you have to text me to get the code. There's a code meeting. Click on text me. No. Put the number one more time.
Yeah.
It actually says please do not enter the country code because it already shows that you're in the US. Text me. All right.
I'm waiting
Did you
for the
receive the
verification
code?
code. Oh yeah, it's here now.
Guys, don't use the code on your screen. Use your own code, right? Some of you will just copy the code, and that's just for him. All right, use the address, suggesting the address for you. Accept the terms. Oh.
I think it's okay.
All right. It needs you to put your credit card information. This is where the payment will come from, okay? When you start using resources that require payment. But at this moment, they are not charging you anything. You're still using the $200 credit for the next 30 days. All right. I really think I should stop sharing here before you put all the information. All
yeah,
right.
please.
I stopped it.
Thank you.
And I'll pause it. All right, at this point, you all have your Azure accounts created. Now, what do we really have in front of us? Let's just take a look at it before our class on Saturday. So we have here the two ways you can log on to this account. And I know Microsoft Azure has a portal that you can use. I really don't like the portal. There's a portal app which you can use to log on, but I just prefer the website because it's faster and you can open multiple sites at the same time if you're doing resources and you don't want to delete them. So you can literally just go here and type portal.azure.com, right? Portal.azure.com. That is, and you press enter, and you just sign up. Right now, it takes me in because I already signed in. Now, at this point, you can see. Let me walk you through the interface, what you'll be using. This is just one of the interfaces. We're going to use Portal. We're going to use Azure CLI. We're going to use PowerShell for this, okay? Now, when you open here, on here, you have all the resources that Microsoft Azure offers, okay? Now, you have your homepage, you have resource group, app services, databases, and all that. Everything will revolve studying some of these resources here. And we can never study all the resources in this program because there are just way too many different resources that Microsoft offers. But at least the most important ones will be studied, okay? We're going to handle a few on app services, databases, Cosmos DB, virtual machine, load balancer, storage, virtual network, Active Directory, monitor, and so practically we're going to touch most of the resources that are here, but not all. All right, so it's here. Creating a resource, you can go here on the plus sign and click create a resource, or you can also just click here, create a resource. When you click create a resource here, all the resources open. Now, Microsoft has what is called a marketplace, right? Popular marketplace product. A marketplace is simply a location where people deploy their resources and leave it on the marketplace for users to use and pay as you go model. For example, if I want to create a virtual machine and I click virtual machine, okay? The moment I click on virtual machine, there are different types of images that are deployed out there. Let me just say I'm putting this as a test virtual machine, for example. And if I go here on images, you can do what is called browse, see all images. Now, all these images that you have here are not all Microsoft images, right? Some of them are from Microsoft, and you can see clearly here, this is Microsoft. The company is there. You have here Canonical, you have Red Hat, Kali Linux, Pro Computers, Microsoft, you have Rockwaves, and so on. So you can actually also deploy, create your resources and sell on this marketplace. So this is called a marketplace, Microsoft Marketplace. You pick anything here. Now, if I can just go here and just type here a virtual machine, for example, a virtual machine. Now, if I click on virtual machine, for example, it will just open if I had a virtual machine already, but I can as well just type virtual, let me say, load balancers, right? Load balancer, and you can select what you have or read a little bit more about load balancer. But if you click on this, anything load balancer will show up here. If you click on create load balancer, you have the option to walk you through how to create the load balance, right? So these are under creating your resource. You also have what is called all resources. Every single time you click here, all resources, if you have any resource available, the resource will show up here. And this is how you should quickly always check if you have any undeleted resources. Just go and click on all resources. If you have anything here, go ahead and delete them. Now, the search menu here gives you option to search for any resources, right? If I want to create maybe a storage, I can just go here and type storage, for example. Storage account, storage browser, data lake storage, and all that, right? You can literally just click here and search for whatever you are searching for. Always click on the home page, takes you back to the home page. Now you have here this notification icon here. This is when you create any resources, you're going to see the notification here if the resource creation was successful, yes, no. This one here is, you can use this to change directory. This is too early to talk about directories. You can change directories on this one. Here, you can also go here directly here and create what is called a cloud PowerShell, right? Remember I said we're going to be deploying resources here using multiple ways of doing so. PowerShell is another method of deploying a resource. You can use Cloud PowerShell. It will require you to create a storage, and then you can create, mount a storage, and you can start running some PowerShell commands to create resources using Azure PowerShell. Okay, so you launch the Cloud Shell from this icon here. This icon here, I think is this one. Yes, this one here. This one here is for help if you want to send notification to Microsoft. And this one here is also send feedback back to Microsoft. And there's another one that I was looking for to change the way your interface look like. That's this. Okay, so this, I was expecting is this one, right? Appearances and start of view. Okay, yes, appearances. There's this one. All right. These appearances, some people like the black screen mode, right? If you're spending quite a lot of time in front of a computer, black screen mode can be very nice for you, for your eyes, right? For those who spend, most of us here, right? This is good for your eyes, but most of the time not always good for the class. So sometimes people complain, but I like using this black screen mode to do. You can use the black theme and so on, and you can switch it back to the regular ones that we have, which takes you back to this. So you can use this also to change how the interface should look like, right? All right, and here you can sign in to another account. Click here, sign in and sign out. And this is just a rough overview of the portal that we're going to be using for the next 4 months. Just thought about showing you guys this. On Saturday, we're going to wrap up with a few more theory, and we'll go on to deploy our first resources in Azure. So I will stop here and answer a few questions. And if there's no more questions, we'll close for today. Any question? Is there a way to see that you have accepted the free trial? Well, if you created a free trial and it went through successfully, it should. Why don't you share your screen? Let me see what your question exactly is. Olivia, please. Why don't you share your screen?
It was somebody in our breakout room.
Okay. All right. Let me have someone, Tayo. Why don't you share your screen? You're doing it for the first time. Let me see how your screen looks like.
Sir,
Okay.
this is my screen.
So you can clearly see here that you have created your Azure account, but then here you click on all resources. Right? You don't have any, so everything is fine. You can go click on create a resource. It should already allow you to start creating resources. Yeah, so for example, SQL database. Let me see.
It's not gonna let me.
Yeah, do it. And you can just fill the form and create, right? So something went wrong while creating that. I mean, I hope you didn't click create. No, you have to fill the form and go ahead. So you already have your subscription here, and it's a free subscription. Right? All right. Okay. So any more questions?
No, my question doesn't based on this creation though. I have something else to ask, not about.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. What's your question?
Okay, sir. Now that we create this, that they have give us $200. So the question like, when this $200 exists, exhaust, can we create another account for free? Like it, and when we create the account for free, maybe using another email, another credit card, something like that. Can we see use that new account to continue where we start?
No, when the $200 elapses, we may not even wait for the $200 to elapse, because there are resources that if we're doing an exercise in this class that expect you to scale the database to S7, you will not do that with a free tier. A free tier will limit you to S0. You can't even go to S1 with a free tier. So already there's limitation with that free tier. So you will don't think that you will need that. There are a lot of different resources that you will not be able to create in this cloud with a free tier. All right. All right. Any more questions? Yes, Rene?
Sorry, my camera first of all has a problem. I don't know why. I just
Okay.
want to find out some of us during the CAP presentation.
Capstone?
Yeah, we created our Azure and our $200 has already been exhausted. Do we just have to upgrade, or what do we do now?
Yes. You will have to upgrade.
Okay.
And then on Saturday, I'm going to show you how to upgrade for those who cannot use the free tier anymore.
Okay. All right.
Or you can try with different email. The thing is that Microsoft tags that to your bank account. So sometimes even creating a new email using a different email and creating it, you may succeed as well, and you may not. So you can try using a different email and see if it's going to work.
Okay,
If not,
okay.
if it doesn't work, then you just have to upgrade. Yes,
All right.
Olivia?
Thank you.
Olivia? You are muted. We cannot hear you. No, I can't hear you. You have to go on the mute icon and go on the microphone and do same as system. No, can't hear you. You have the mic, you can type the question there, but fix the mic. You know how to fix it, right? Choose all the options that you have under the microphone to make sure it works out. All right, guys, any more questions before we go? All right, see you guys on Saturday. Oh, yes, Emmanuel.
So I was experimenting and I changed the background of my Azure. I don't even know if I can reset it.
Yeah, you can just go back there and choose a different one.
Okay.
All right. Okay. All right, guys. See you guys on Saturday. Class time is 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. For some reason, it's you guys in Europe, you may have to figure out what time that is. I thought we have 6 hours different, but it looks like we have 7 hours time different. All right. So if it's 7 hours, then it's going to be 4 p.m., I guess. 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's going to be 4 p.m. your time. But figure that out anyway. So see you guys on Saturday. Thanks.